The top 10 worst plagues of all time, by the death toll.
Thank you, Brittany, for suggesting the topic. If you have an interesting topic you would like us to explore, please leave your suggestion in the comment box below. This is a list of plagues that have killed 1 million or more people, in other words, the world's deadliest plagues where many lives were lost. Number 10, the Third Cholera Pandemic. Number 10, the Third Cholera Pandemic. It occurred in India, Asia, Europe, North America and Africa. The pandemic happened from 1852 through 1860. Cholera is a bacterial disease that causes severe diarrhea and dehydration and is spread primarily through water.
The most lethal of the 7 cholera pandemics. Polluted water serves as the disease's vector of transmission. The death toll from the Third Cholera Pandemic was approximately 1 million. Number 9. The 9th worst plague in the world was the flu pandemic of 1889. Unfortunately, this isn't the only flu pandemic on this list. Number 9. The pandemic was mostly contained to Asia, Canada, and Greenland. It occurred from 1889 to 1890. What is it? Influenza, a frequent viral illness that can be fatal. Especially in people who are at high risk, the lungs, nose, and throat are all affected. It was originally known as the Asian flu or Russian flu. It was the final major epidemic of the 19th century and one of the worst in history. According to a 2005 genomic virologic investigation, the virus may not have been influenza, but rather human coronavirus. This unforgiving flu had a death toll of 1 million people. Number 8. The flu pandemic of 1968. The flu pandemic of 1968 occurred in Hong Kong, Singapore, Philippines, India, Australia and the USA from 1968 to 1970. The virus was highly contagious, which helped it spread quickly over the world. Although a vaccine for the virus was created, it was not accessible until after the pandemic had reached its peak in many countries. The influenza A, H3N2, virus that triggered the 1968 pandemic, was made up of 2 genes from an avian influenza A virus. The H3N2 virus is still circulating as a seasonal influenza A virus around the world. Seasonal H3N2 viruses, which are linked to serious illness in the elderly, are on the rise. This flu pandemic, like the one from 1889, also claimed 1 million lives. If you like this content and would like to see more, hit the subscribe button below. Number 7, the Asian flu. Influenza rears its ugly head yet again. Number 7, the Asian flu, happened in China, Singapore, Hong Kong, and the USA, from 1956 to 1958. The influenza of 1956 to 1958 is thought to have killed between 1 and 4 million people globally, making it one of the deadliest pandemics in history. A novel influenza A, H2N2, virus emerged in East Asia, sparking a pandemic known as Asian flu. The 1918 influenza pandemic is widely regarded as the least severe of the 3 pandemics that occurred in the 20th century. The death toll from this nasty strain of influenza was 2 million people. Number 6. COVID-19. A pandemic that we are currently dealing with worldwide, a highly contagious disease that has rocked the world and changed our way of life. Number 6. COVID-19. It is a worldwide pandemic, December 2019 to the present, with the first official case on the books in January 2020. COVID-19 is caused by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. Many older adults and people who have severe underlying medical conditions like heart or lung disease or diabetes seem to be at higher risk for developing more serious complications from COVID-19 illness. A new, novel, coronavirus began circulating in humans in the Wuhan region of China in December 2019. People all throughout the world have become more aware of the best procedures for dealing with a pandemic, from thorough hand-washing to social isolation. Across the globe, countries have proclaimed mandatory stay-at-home measures, shutting down schools, shops, and public spaces. Hundreds of firms and thousands of independent researchers started developing diagnostics, treatments, and vaccines. The fight to save the human species from the pandemic has become the world's top priority. Sadly, the death toll to date is approximately 4.4 million people as of the date of this video, August 24, 2021. Number 5. The Antoine Plague. Number 5. The Antoine Plague. happened in where? Asia Minor, Egypt, Greece, and Italy in 165 AD, caused by the smallpox virus. That was formerly infectious, disfiguring, and frequently fatal, and has been eradicated. Soldiers coming from Mesopotamia carried this unknown sickness back to Rome around 165 AD, inadvertently spreading a disease that would kill over 5 million people. The two emperors ascended to the throne after being adopted by the previous emperor, Antoninus Pius, and their surname Antoninus became synonymous with the plague as a result. In certain locations, the plague killed up to a third of the population, wreaking havoc on the Roman army. The Antonine Plague was significantly deadlier than COVID-19, and the civilization it struck was far less capable of saving sick people than we are now. The Antoine Plague had a death toll of 5 million people. Number 4, the Plague of Justinian. Number 4, the Plague of Justinian, occurred in Europe from 541 to 542. The disease was the bubonic plague. What is the bubonic plague? Fleas spread this rare but dangerous bacterial illness. The Plague of Justinian was a bubonic plague outbreak that ravaged the Byzantine Empire and Mediterranean port cities. It is thought to have killed half of Europe's population, killing an estimated 5,000 people each day at its peak, eventually murdering 40% of the city's population. The deadliest plague yet on our countdown of the world's top 10 worst plagues, killing 1 million or more people. This pandemic killed 25 million. Number 3. HIV, AIDS. Number 3. HIV, AIDS. It was first discovered in the Democratic Republic of Congo, 1976, then worldwide. It is still an ongoing issue today, its peak being between 2005 to 2012. What is HIV/AIDS? AIDS is caused by HIV, which impairs the body's capacity to fight infections. Currently, between 31 and 35 million people are infected with HIV, the most majority of whom live in sub-Saharan Africa, where 5% of the population, or around 21 million people, are infected. The World Health Organization now refers to HIV as a global epidemic. Cases confirmed, 55.9 million to 100 million. The death toll from this disease is currently 36 million and rising, which is a tragedy that it has been around so long. Coming in at number 2 is the Spanish flu of 1918. The Spanish flu of 1918 was first found in the US in 1918, and was another strain of influenza. In January 1918, a doctor in Haskell County, Kansas, notified the U.S. Public Health Service about increased flu activity. This had spread to nearby Fort Riley by March. An Army private complained of a fever, sore throat, and headache on March 11 in the morning. More than 100 soldiers on the base had become ill by lunchtime that day. The mortality rate of the 500 million persons infected in the 1918 pandemic was predicted to be 10% to 20%, with up to 25 million deaths in the first 25 weeks. Fear overtook the cities, schools were cancelled, and theaters, places of worship, and other places of public enjoyment were closed. So here we are, a death toll that will absolutely boggle your mind, and we aren't even at number 1 yet. The Spanish flu took 50 million people. Think about that for a moment. Okay, we are getting ready to reveal the deadliest plague in history. Do you think you know what it is? Do you want to take a guess? If you think you know what it is, I'll give you a few seconds to post it in the comments section below. Number 1, the deadliest plague in world history is the Black Death. Did you guess it correctly? The Black Death occurred in Europe, Africa, and Asia, from 1346 to 1353, caused by the bubonic plague, a really nasty bacterial infection, caused by the fleas of rats. The Black Death, the deadliest disease in history, most likely spread across continents via fleas carried by rats that frequented trade ships. It wiped out 20 to 30% of Europe's population. The Black Death of 1346 to 53 was a watershed moment in human history, as well as a massive human disaster, the greatest catastrophe ever. The Black Death was a pandemic that swept Europe between 1347 and 1351, killing more people than any other recorded epidemic or conflict at the period. Even more than wars. The death toll from the Black Death is, without a doubt, staggering. It took the lives of 200 million people. It is correctly called the greatest catastrophe of all time, and rightly so. I would like to hope that with today's advancement in medicine and technology, We would never see a disease like this again. What do you think? Could it happen again? I want to thank you again for watching today. I appreciate your time.